Hey everyone, and welcome to my grow space. If you haven't been here before, my name is Marissa and I grow microgreens for a local grocery store. So right now I only have one client, which I kind of enjoy because it doesn't take up too much room in my spare room here in my house. But I have one rack going behind me. These guys are ready to harvest, so that's what we're going to be working on today. So just within the past couple months, I have transitioned from growing in dirt to growing hydroponically, and it has been so nice because I have not had to dispose of the dirt. Now, I do have a couple acres and I have places to compost, but when it is 0 degrees outside in the winter, the last thing I want to do is go dump my trays and deal with hosing off that dirt from my trays. When the hose freezes up immediately, it's just kind of a pain in the butt. So, transitioning to growing hydroponically has been amazing. The only thing I don't really like about it is that I have to scrape off the roots from these silicone mesh pads, and it's not terrible, but it's my least favorite part of the job. So right now I'm growing 22 trays a week, and I kind of stagger my growing, so I always have trays going. I'm harvesting these today, but I have another rack behind you, and I have another 22 trays in their blackout mode, so they will be coming up due next week, and I just kind of repeat the process every week. So this is the silicone mesh I was telling you about. It's way different than dirt, and honestly, when I got them, I thought maybe they would be really flimsy and I would cut them easily with harvest, but that has not been the case. They worked awesome. Okay, we are now in my harvest area, and yes, it is in my garage. Because I sell my produce as raw produce, I do not have to have a commercial facility or any approved facility. Now, if I were to be selling and put on my packaging that it's washed and ready to eat, I would then have to jump through a lot of hoops to be able to put that on my packaging. But nobody washes these. I never wash them. No one has ever gotten sick from them. It's just a precaution I have to take for insurance reasons. However, I do make sure that I try to have the best food handling practices as possible, because obviously this is going into someone's home to be consumed, and so I want them to be safe and clean. Okay, I have got my purple radish here ready to harvest. I have my container. Just a little bit more. 1.5. So for my smaller varieties, I use these small containers, and I put 1.5 ounces in each one. And then for my peas and my sunflowers, I use a little bit bigger container, and those are 3. You want to make sure that you try to not get these caught in the side of the container. Sometimes it's kind of hard. If you do, that can promote molding prematurely. It looks bad. So anyways, if you can get it in there without squishing the leaves or the stems on the side, that is ideal. Sometimes it takes some finagling. There. Okay, this date gun is awesome. It was so worth the investment. Before I bought it, I was actually printing these labels with the date right here. Now, that was kind of a pain in the butt because I was having to go back and forth to the computer after I figured out how many I needed. So I just decided to print these out with a blank space here, and then I just change my date gun every time. Okay, this is my broccoli. I use a Waltham 29 broccoli seed. I have it written down how much I use per tray for this. I forget at the moment because I usually pre-measure everything for weeks on end, so I always have to look at my cheat sheet. But anyways, this looks pretty good. It's a little bit damp in there. I don't like harvesting if it's too wet. Sometimes I will harvest like all the sides and the inside will be a little damp, so I'll just go and put it back on the shelf. with a fan on it and wait for a couple hours, and then that kind of dries it out. I always like to look at the bottom here because with this hydroponic mat, sometimes instead of the microgreens getting cut, they'll kind of pull up and the roots will still be on the end, which probably isn't a big deal, but I just kind of like to pick those off. It's 1.5. It would be really nice if I had someone that could just do this part of the job where I could just cut and fill and they could make everything fit nicely in there. But I don't make enough to pay an employee, so I do everything. One perk of harvesting in the garage during the winter is that it is cold out here. It's kind of like a cooler, which when I bring everything out, I know it's not going to wilt fast. It's just like putting it into a cooler. So even though my hands are getting cold right now, it's good for the microgreens because they're kind of getting cooled, and you want to get them in the fridge as soon as you can after you harvest. Okay, I had to get a cup of coffee to warm up, but I thought we would just do a little chat about growing hydroponically versus growing in dirt. I showed you how I harvested a couple of my varieties. I'm not going to go through all the varieties today. Maybe that'll be a future video. I go into that. But anyways, we'll talk about the differences, in my opinion, what my experiences are in growing in dirt versus hydroponically. So I'll just describe what it was like growing in dirt. When I first started growing, I would go down to the local nursery and I would buy one bale of germination mix at a time. Now I was paying $65 for a bale of this germination mix, and it was lasting me maybe about a month because I only had the one client. And so I thought, if I'm going to keep doing this, I need to find a better way, a cheaper way. And so I did some research. I found a company online called Bootstrap Farmer, and I was able to get a pallet of 30 bales of this dirt for around $1,500. Recently, I checked the price on this dirt because I still have it. I still have some of it left, and I was thinking about, do I need to get another pallet or not? I checked the price, and the pallet price had gone up to almost $1,900. And so that was kind of when I was like, okay, if I'm going to transition to hydroponic, I need to do it now. So anyways, that's my price story on dirt. But let's just go through what a week would look like for growing microgreens in dirt. So I would start in my greenhouse, and I have all my dirt piled up in the greenhouse. It took up valuable real estate, and I would have to fill all my trays for that week. A lot of times I would pre-fill trays, so I had them, sitting in the greenhouse ready for the next week. But most weeks I would have to go out and fill for that week. So I had to do this before I showered for the day because I would just get covered in dirt all over my hair, up my nose, everywhere. So I had to kind of time it every week with my shower and make sure, like, okay, if I have to do that today, I'm not going to shower till later. But that's a whole nother story in itself. So there was that I had to deal with, getting just completely covered in dirt. And then I would have to haul all of the trays from my greenhouse up to my yard. So then I would hook up my hose, I would give all my trays just a light spray, and then seed with my microgreens, and then spray again, and then I would stack them, and then I would haul them into the house, and they would then germinate in the room that they live in for the time that they're here. So that was kind of a process, and then come harvest day, I would harvest, I would stack up the trays out in my garage, they're all filled with dirt, and then find a time to haul them all back out to my composting area and dump them all out. Now there were still dirt remnants in all the trays, so before I did anything with them as far as disinfecting goes or any of that, I would have to bring them back up, hook the hose up, and spray them off just to get all the big dirt chunks off. And then I could soak them and sanitize them. Now all of this works really well in the summer when it's nice out. I can leave the hose attached. It's not a big deal to walk back and forth from my compost pile. But here in Montana it gets really cold, And when it's 0 degrees out and you have to go outside and you're supposed to be spraying your trays outside with a hose, your hose will freeze immediately. So that was one of the reasons why I decided I wanted to look into planting growing hydroponically, because of how much of a pain it was to just deal with this throughout the winter months. So I looked into growing hydroponically, did a lot of research. I found this company on Instagram called On the Grow, and I started watching a lot of their videos. Thanks, guys. You gave me a lot of information. So I decided to order a couple of their mesh grow mats, which you saw, just so I could do some research and see how they worked for me. So I just ordered a couple because I have a tendency to order everything up front and then it doesn't work for me, and then that's a whole big thing. So anyways, I thought I would just order a couple. I would do a few test runs, and I really loved them. So I decided to then place my bulk order and ordered a whole bunch of the mesh mats that I needed, and then I also ordered the ocean. They sell ocean solution, which is kind of like a mineral solution, kind of, I guess what you would say, a fertilizer. And so I ordered that, and the fertilizer came in a quart size, and it was $20. And so then they do sell gallons too. They are obviously more expensive. I just bought a gallon on Amazon because On the Grow didn't have them, and it cost me $60 for a gallon. But that compared to paying for all that dirt, I think it's going to be cheaper, and I don't have to store all of the dirt and deal with the mess of the dirt and everything. So I literally just mix it in water and put it in my trays. So then let's just go through what a week looks like with growing hydroponically. So I am now storing all of my trays inside in that grow room that you saw. And when it comes time to sow my seeds, I bring them all out onto my kitchen island, and they have the mats on them, the little mesh mats, and I just take a little hand sprayer, and I get it wet. And then I take my seeds and I sprinkle them on. So you get it wet beforehand so that the seeds don't roll everywhere, they kind of stick in place. And so then after I spread my seeds out, I then spray one more time, and I put another tray on top, and I will put them on the shelf with a brick on top. So I do not have to haul anything back and forth from the greenhouse. There's no filling of dirt, nothing. Every day I do have to go in there, lift the tray real quick, and then spray it just to keep it moist, and that helps with germination. But that is nothing compared to what I was doing. Then they just stay covered for a few days. I will spray them daily, and then I uncover them after a few days, and they will go into like their blackout cycle, which is typically 24 to 48 hours. It depends on how they're doing. But growing hydroponically, I do have to say, is a lot less labor intensive, and that's what I was looking for. So I'm loving it so far. Thank you, On the Grow, for all your informational videos, and I need to get on there and watch some more. I do need to play around with some of my seeding densities because I'm following what they're saying right now, but sometimes I feel like you have to do the research for yourself, and what works for one person might not work for another. This whole microgreen thing has been just a learning process, and I feel like a lot of the advice I got from other people didn't work for me, and I had to do things a little different. You know, if your environment's a little different, it's a matter of figuring out what works for you and what works for your setup. Okay, so this is my disgusting bucket that I use, and I just peel that off. See the back of those mats? They just get covered in the roots. So I like to take one of these out. I just flip one over like that so I have a flat surface to work, kind of like this. And you just scrape your greens off, and it's kind of like those ASMR videos that you see. See, even scraping it a few times, you still get some of these stems stuck in there. So just flip it over, and then Okay, not bad. I will do a better cleaning of that, but I got most of it off. So when I'm done with all of these, I will put them in a tray like this, and I actually just put some Dawn dish soap in there and let them soak, and that kind of helps a lot of this stuff come off. Thanks for sticking in there with me, guys, today. I haven't posted on this account in a long time, but I love sharing content, and I love sharing kind of about my life. I do so many different things, and I have so much that I want to share. And honestly, like, the people that I watch on YouTube are just like me. They garden, they do all these things, and they're super successful on YouTube. So I'm like, you know what? Maybe I should just start making videos of my life, because I do all these things, but I just haven't been good about sharing them. So if you're interested in microgreens, in gardening and canning, chickens, we have horses on our property now. If you're interested in all of that stuff, then give me a follow and follow the journey, because I will be here pretty soon planting in the garden. I'm going to be starting some seeds for like onions and stuff, probably February or March. So I need to start videotaping some of my content. So I'll see you all on the next one.